Hello, everyone. This is the Mind of Lilith, and welcome to another Open Mind Intuitive Tarot and Astrology message. Today, I'm going to share a quick message about the upcoming Uranus in Gemini transit. On July 7th, 2025, Uranus will temporarily enter the sign of Gemini for a few months after spending 8 years in the sign of Taurus, which is a sign of debilitation. The planet Uranus co-rules the fixed air sign of Aquarius, and in November, it will retrograde back into Taurus until April 17th, 2026. Uranus takes about 8 years to travel through each zodiac sign, and the last time it was in Gemini was in the 1940s during World War II. While in Gemini, Uranus will form a trine aspect with the planet Pluto, which will be in the sign of Aquarius for the next 20 years. Now, these planets are both malefics, so although the trine aspect is not as inharmonious as the square opposition, the potential for the destructive qualities of this dynamic duo is actually amplified, not only because Uranus is the co-ruler of Aquarius, but both of these planets have a radioactive quality that is destructive to order and stability. It is not a coincidence that uranium and plutonium are both radioactive elements that permanently change whatever they come into contact with. On the other hand, there could be remarkable achievements in information and communications technology, medical technology, and even agricultural technology. But radiation, because Pluto's involved and Uranus is involved, radiation can be used as a weapon, as it was in World War II, to transmit diseases or destroy masses of people. One of the significations of Uranus is large crowds, and Aquarius also represents masses of people. There is a strong possibility that during this transit, millions of human beings will lose their lives because of biological, chemical, kinetic, or nuclear warfare. By the end of this transit, I believe that the global population will be significantly lower as it was after World War I and II, up until the baby boom of the late 1930s, early 1940s. Unfortunately, I don't think there'll be a baby boom during this time period because that is not what the elites want, okay? Like Uranus, the mutable air sign of Gemini represents communication, genius, dexterity, science, speed, psychic ability, intellect, and duality. Rapid advancements in technology will affect these areas, but great compromises or sacrifices will be made by the collective. Technology will be used to increase surveillance, to fortify the power of the ruling elite who are afraid of losing control of billions of people who have access to the same technologies they do. The opposite sign of Gemini is Sagittarius, and Sagittarius governs the 9th house of politics, international travel, education, philosophy, fundamentalism, belief systems. So the Uranian energy will be used to spread more propaganda or to create propaganda that will justify the use of Uranian technologies, just as they did in World War II. Okay? So, unfortunately, I think during this transit, we'll see an increase in surveillance. We could see increased censorship, propaganda, and weaponized misinformation to justify stripping people of their human rights. Many of us will have to choose between freedom, which is Uranus, or peace, as the rich and powerful will intentionally create chaos. Uranus and Gemini, Pluto and Aquarius, they'll intentionally create chaos until we give up our freedoms. That's essentially the goal and the agenda, okay? Uranus is the planet of ingenuity, freedom, liberation, sudden changes, shock, revelations, taboos, eccentricity, heterodoxy, aberration, invention, technology, spontaneity, individuality, genius, corruption, rebellion, exploration, telekinesis, lightning, explosions, perversion, radicalism, acceleration, innovation, change, originality, and creativity, among other things. Wherever Uranus is positioned in your chart, you will experience the unexpected, or you can expect the unexpected in that area of your life. When Uranus aspects any planet, there is a desire to initiate or experience changes involving those planets. When aspecting the Sun, the native seeks freedom from the shackles of the ego identity that's been cultivated by rigid systems of conformity and control. And sometimes this freedom could manifest as leaving a job or losing a job unexpectedly, getting a divorce, moving cross country, so on and so forth. When Uranus aspects the Moon, there is a strong desire to break generational curses and childhood conditioning that is preventing the native from experiencing freedom and fulfillment. There's also a strong urge to move far away from what is familiar: friends, family, childhood neighborhood, etc., etc. When aspecting Mercury, telepathic abilities are heightened, but also there could be an increase in ADHD, nervousness, anxiety, as well as a lack of concentration. Genius ideas seem to come out of thin air, and there's also an increased interest in education, travel, and learning different languages. When Uranus aspects Venus, we become open to unconventional relationships that are different from anything we have experienced. Significant relationships change as one or both parties may want the freedom to explore other opportunities. Uranus square, conjunction, opposition, or even a trine is notorious for affairs, third-party situations, divorces, midlife crises, etc. When Uranus aspects Mars, we can become restless or irritated if we feel stuck, stifled, or confined to a circumstance or a situation that does not stimulate us because it's too predictable or too safe. There's a risk of becoming reckless and accident-prone because of impatience and overconfidence. This aspect is great for physical hobbies and martial arts, but the Uranus-Mars aspect is also the one-night stand aspect. So you could experience sudden attractions that are overwhelming, and then once you finish doing what you're doing with this person, you'll end up losing interest relatively quickly. So Uranian energy is easy come, easy go. It's not consistent, it's not stable, it's not reliable. So do not make permanent decisions based on temporary feelings with this transit, okay? Don't confuse excitement and passion and lust with actual compatibility long term, okay? When Uranus aspects Jupiter, our curiosity about the deeper meaning of life is heightened, and there's a strong desire to learn, to explore, to experiment, and to experience what life has to offer. We become more interested in politics or meeting people from different parts of the world. Our consciousness and tolerance for other people expands when Uranus is aspecting Jupiter, okay? When Uranus aspects Saturn, there could be some inner friction or tension if you feel like your responsibilities are preventing you from evolving, exploring, or experiencing freedom. You are less tolerant of rules, schedules, and other constraints. This conflict can lead to resentment, depression, or frustration. When Uranus aspects Neptune, you may be tempted to use drugs, alcohol, or spirituality to escape or transcend artificial constructs that are restricting your evolution. You may spend a lot of time daydreaming, and your dreams may become more lucid, or your ability to manifest what you're dreaming about is also heightened at this time. There's a risk of getting lost in the fantasy of being free and escaping from your responsibilities to the point where you may self-sabotage by destroying your career, your relationships, family dynamics, etc., etc. You want freedom at all costs, and you may not be aware of how detrimental the actions you're taking to achieve this freedom will be to your long-term stability and progress, okay? When Uranus aspects Pluto, depending on the nature of the aspect, you will experience waves of changes for over a decade that ultimately free you from the fear of losing power and control. Because Uranus and Pluto are both malefics, some of these changes will be unpleasant. They may be divorces. They may be, transitioning of people from life to not life. There may be job losses, unexpected homelessness, things of that nature. But for the sake of your freedom, you will have to release the things that you are attached to, because you're using those things to mask or hide some deep insecurity about your intrinsic human value. And Pluto represents our ego, right? Sometimes we acquire things, or sometimes we want power for our ego. A Uranian transit will pretty much smash up your ego. And this is not always a bad thing, right? Sometimes people are relieved when they can let go of the mask, when they can let go of being fake and phony and, trying to keep up appearances. They're happier afterwards. So overall, even though it may seem scary initially, you'll be fine. If you're older than the age of 21, 22, 23, maybe even 24, Uranus may have moved through 3 different houses in your natal chart by the time you're 21, 22 years old, maybe, depending on the degree that Uranus is in when you're born. So you should be used to it. It's not always going to be unpleasant, but some people don't like surprises, and some people do. So your ability to cope with this transit will be based on how well you deal with surprises. And fixed signs don't like surprises. So the Uranus and Taurus transit was very difficult for the fixed sign of Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius. Uranus and Gemini should be a lot easier, in my opinion, for people to deal with. The energies are mutable. It's an air sign. It's not Earth. So people may be more flexible, more fluid, or more receptive to change. Even if they're afraid of initiating it themselves, they'll be open to it, okay? But I want to share some information about Uranus and houses next Friday, okay? All right, guys. I look forward to reading your feedback. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.